everyone! This week, we celebrate the third week in Advent. Advent is a purple season. Purple stands for drawing close to God through opening our hearts in prayer. But this week in Advent is special. It is a pink week because we celebrate the joy of Jesus' coming. We will light the third candle of Advent this week. Advent is the time when we anticipate Jesus' coming. We are waiting for Jesus and his birth at Christmas. At the same time, we have Jesus in our hearts. So we spend time drawing close to Jesus in our hearts and looking forward to seeing him alive in the world around us. There are 4 weeks of Advent. Each week has a special story. The first week was looking forward to Jesus' coming. Last week, John the Baptist reminded us to turn back to God, and we heard of some mysterious person coming. This week, we will see who that mysterious person is, and we celebrate the miracles of Jesus with joy. Next week is when the angel visits Mary and Joseph to tell them about Jesus. Advent is a very special journey, and following that journey before Christmas makes Christmas even more special. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. John was in prison when he heard what Christ was doing, so John sent some of his followers to ask Jesus, "Are you the one we should be looking for, or should we wait for someone else?" Jesus answered, "Go and tell John what you have heard and seen. The blind are now able to see, and the lame can walk. People with leprosy are being healed, and the deaf can hear. The dead are raised to life, and the poor are hearing the good news. God will bless everyone who does not reject me because of what I do." As John's followers were going away, Jesus spoke to the crowds about John. "What sort of person did you go out into the desert to see? Was he like tall grass blown about by the wind? What kind of man did you go out to see? Was he someone dressed in fine clothes? People who dress like that live in the king's palace. What did you really go out to see? Was he a prophet? He certainly was. I tell you that he was more than a prophet. In the scriptures, God says about him, 'I am sending my messenger ahead of you to get things ready for you.' I tell you that no one born on this earth is greater than John the Baptist. But whoever is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John." The Gospel of the Lord. In this week's Gospel, we find out who the mysterious person is that John the Baptist was telling everyone to get ready for. John was sent to prison and had heard about Jesus. He was hoping he was the one he was waiting for, so he sent his followers to find out. Jesus told them to see for themselves. It was clear that God was at work in Jesus. The blind, lame, deaf, and lepers were healed. The dead were even coming to life. The poor had a reason to celebrate. This reminds us that God's presence isn't just an idea. God works in real ways in our lives that we can see and experience. After answering for John's followers who he was, Jesus told the crowds who John was. Maybe people expected someone trendy or fancy, but that wasn't who John was. He was a prophet, that's for sure. In fact, Jesus said he was the finest of all prophets. Wow, imagine that. But just like John told his followers that someone greater was coming than himself, Jesus said that although John was the best prophet ever, there was even more coming for the people. John brought people back to God, but now people could be brought to the very heart of God with Jesus. It's a mixed day for John. I'm sure he was thrilled to see Jesus was the one he was waiting for. That mysterious person who would baptize by the Holy Spirit and fire. And I'm sure he never imagined to be called the best prophet. But there was even more he would miss. Jesus was going to bring people closer to God in a way far beyond what John was able to do. But remember, this week we celebrate joy. What an amazing thing to celebrate, that each of us, even in our weakness, can be close to God in a way that it was never possible before. Jesus has made possible what never was possible before. Let's celebrate with joy and, like John, accept our weaknesses and the even greater strength of Jesus.